A very warm good evening to everyone. All of us have gathered today in the evening for this webinar to know the role of Project Management Technology Quotient and how it can be harnessed as a skill set for everyone, particularly the working professionals who are into this domain of project management, who are working over here since many years, as well as beginners, specialists, intermediate learners. So all of them can harness this project management technology and develop a quotient with it, and with a mindset how you can proceed ahead handling the projects in your individual domain. A very warm good evening to everyone. My name is Bharat Varur. I am a construction project management specialist. I've been working and associated with the construction industry past 10 years. I've been working on industrial construction projects majorly. Presently, I'm associated with Tata Motors. My core competency lies in Masters in Civil Engineering as a construction management professional. In the past, I have completed projects associated with Metro Rail Line, with R&D Center, Research and Development Center for a manufacturing unit called For Asia. It was the Asia's only manufacturing unit having its R&D center over here in Pune. FIPCH stands for Firodia Institute of Philosophy, Culture and History. It is located at Talegaon in Marvel region. It's a heritage project which is being led by Force Motors Group. So I worked over there as a senior engineer for the civil department and led the project over there on the side. So, all right. So let's begin with the agenda of this discussion and the webinar. So initially, if we see, we need to start right from the basics, the fundamentals of project and the terminology which are associated with it. The fundamentals of project management has certain terminology, certain sets of terminology, which we need to understand right from its source, right from the very beginning till its end-to-end application. Then we will be covering the significance of the entire project management as a whole, as a chapter where we will be having different verticals, where we'll be having different kind of portfolios, which it opens up into, and hence its applications, and hence its impact, considering the project management quotient at an individual level. So this shows what are the variants which are available with the right from the insight of project management professional, anyone who has to pursue this course. So ProThoughts is the institute which helps all the working professionals to have corporate training, to have all the mock exams, the study materials, as well as a complete guidance as a working professional, not only with the PMP, but its further applications as a professional. So there are certain tabs which are mentioned in the slide. You can go through the e-learning training for PMP and further variants which are mentioned over there. There is also certification training workshop for PGMP, which is program management, and also for simulator programs and corporate trainings. So let's begin with what exactly does a project mean. So I would like to start with the fundamentals of project management. So what is a project basically? Anyone who can just give their uh, their response in their own way. Any kind of comments you have, you can welcome. You can write it down in the chat box. So, what is the project basically? Yes. So, a project means basically a task which is to be completed in a given time frame. We need to associate or deliver the project using resources. We have to work it out at a certain cost and a budget which is given to execute the project. Yeah, there is an answer: temporary assignment. Yes, an assignment can be a part of the project we can consider. Yes. So it is, yes. So it is, project is an activity with specific start and end date, right? Yes. It is basically a task to be performed, a task to be performed in a given resource set, in a given budget, having a particular time frame, and also having its entire plan, project plan. It has got activities, it has got its sub activities, it has got its risks involved, it has got its constraints. Yes, project is any activity with specific start and end date. Right. So moving ahead with why basically project management is necessary. Can anyone please give your answers in the chat box? Why is it necessary for us, for all the working professionals who are handling projects? Project management is necessary. Is it a necessity? If not, yes. If not, why? If yes, why? Please tell me. So basically, I have few bullets which I have jotted as per my experience and my application in the project stream. Basically, why project management is necessary. Basic two parameters which we have to think as project managers, as project applicators, save time and money. We have to be on the track, always monitoring our project with the schedules. We have to keep it in the given budget, optimize the cost. There should be internal mode of communications established. Project management involves a lot of communications which are to be established through mails, through meetings, through reviews, through walkthroughs. There should be better decision making analysis with project management. It helps in fostering alignment, fostering, establishing alignment with the stakeholders, with your key team members, and also with your parallel dependents like the subcontractors, consultants, whoever are involved. It facilitates better risk management. We can forecast in what direction is our project moving. We can forecast what constraints we are coming ahead. We have better scalability ratio. What is the time? What is the cost? What are the factors, parameters affecting the project? We can gauge that through the project management stream. And in today's date, in this upcoming era of project management, we have to be adaptive. That is, for any kind of technology, for any kind of product to be launched, we need to be more and more adaptive. There are basically a lot of iterations done with the project management plan. There are a lot of trial and errors done along with the product which is to be launched. So this is altogether comprising into the project management plan, which is a vital necessity in today's day. Yes, someone has mentioned it's necessary as project manager, as part of project management takes care end-to-end implementation. Otherwise, all other stakeholders focus only to their part or delivery, right? Stakeholders keep on discussing and have all their agendas up to themselves. It is not delivered or gone through the process or gone through the channel. So that is what is project management, basically a driving force which leads to the end result of project which is thought. Yeah. So what basically has project management given an impact for us? So basically it helps in aligning and establishing a control over the process which we drive through. It has a good forecast and a tracking on time and budget. It has a good portray of all the deliverables which we have to give in the project every now and then at every stage. It also involves a lot of risks which can be mitigated, helps in pooling up the resources, helps in tracking the schedules. It also projects doesn't mean that you have to only establish all new formulations on a live project whenever you are working. It also means you have to refer to the past projects in a similar way where you had implemented what you had gone through. So the past project knowledge, the knowledge base of the past project is useful and it can be formulated in your ongoing project. It helps in better allocation of the work, the the activity which are to be executed through the resources in the given time frame. And yes, this ultimately ends us to achieve milestones. We have few of our milestones as our deliverables to the clients as a part of our project, stage-wise development plan. So that's what we have through project management. Yes. So moving ahead with project management, its necessity, its impact. Now, we need to know a basic fundamental, which is called as the life cycle of the project. So basically, what is a project life cycle? This is majorly categorized into 5 divisions. One is the initiation or the conceptualization. Second is the planning. Third is execution or commonly termed as implementation. Fourth is monitoring and controlling. Fifth is the closure. So let's have a go through in all these five stages what we have to establish as a project life cycle. Life cycle stages of a project. So here I have broadly mentioned. So basically, what do we do with initiation or the conceptualization? Can anyone please give their inputs? What does initiation mean? So during the initiation phase, we have an assessment or a concept is formed which will have what kind of impact or where it will lead us to. So this formulation or the of uh, framing work of a project is done in the initiation. I can relate it with an example, uh, particularly knowing to the construction domain. I would like to initiate it, like I would like to portray it in the form of I want to construct a monumental structure. I want to construct a bridge. So what kind of bridges? Where should I construct a bridge? What kind of monumental structure? Why it has would it have a major impact on the market, knowing to the iconic structure which will be a tourist attraction? Would the bridge help the transportation to go through without any kind of hindrances? Yes, this is rightly mentioned. Scope is defined for the project based on business and what we focus on. Yes, we also identify the resources, but then identifying the resources comes in the planning stage. Yes. So in initiation or conceptualization, we have to define the project requirements. What are we going to construct or what are we going to deliver? The framework. Is it a iPhone what we are going to produce, or it's a Ola bike which we are going to produce, or it's any kind of uh, monumental structure we are going to produce? So this depends on what are the stakeholders' requirement, what the stakeholders like, what are the stakeholders' expectations after the end of the project, how it should lead to. It can be a five-star hotel, it can be a resort, it can be cottages, villas, which they want to open it up to the market. So in this stage, we basically have the requirements identified, and accordingly, we prepare a project charter. A project charter is also similar to a project directory, which we prepare at the initial stage of the project. We also have the SPOC established. Can anyone tell me what does SPOC stand for? This is a common term. People who are into project management domain, please write it down in the chat box. Can anyone tell me what does SPOC stand for? When we initiate the project and we get the requirement from the stakeholders. Yes, SPOC stands for single point of contact. So this is a mode of communication which is established at the very beginning, right from the inception of the project, who will be the contact point. So there is normally for any project a single SPOC established through which all the data of the project is channelized and communicated further. There is another major aspect in the initiation phase, which is called as project feasibility report. What does project feasibility report stand for? Like I said, I just mentioned it in a very understanding way at the very beginning. whether my project or the product will be useful or beneficial for the market. So this kind of analysis is done during the project feasibility report. At times, the project feasibility reports, yes, it does highlight the negative impact happening on the ecological system, on the environment. If you know this new road which has been launched, the highway project from Mumbai to Agra. So the segment which is there in Maharashtra state, from Nagpur to Mumbai, which is called as Samruddhi Mahamarg. So if we see, there are many crossings which have been established across the highway for maintaining the ecological system and for the animals to pass over on the ground level. And the road levels have been taken below as a subway, in the form of a subway. So these kind of provisions are forecast at the very beginning, having its impact on the environment, on the stakeholders' value, on the project process, which will be affecting through its stages. It also involves assembling the team with key members, also involves mitigating the risks involved in the project. Yeah, falling into the next stage, planning. So what does planning involve? I have I have correlated this abbreviation with planning, which is known as SMART. So it stands for specific. It should be only relating to what is required in the process. It should be measurable. It should be measured in terms of hours, man hours, days, weeks, time period, which is defined for the project and its activities and sub activities. It should be attainable. It should be understood or absorbed by all the individuals who are involved in the project on a common platform. Most importantly, the R, which is realistic. Now, a planning schedule should be very realistic, knowing to its goal, knowing to its um, or knowing to its driving way from right from the start till the end, achieving all the goals which are set in its way. And lastly, it is timely. So everything is measured up in terms of time. Like I mentioned, in particular schedules, they mention manas. In particular schedules, they mention in calendar weeks. So this is what is termed into or associated into plan. So you can consolidate it in the form of saying that planning basically consists of preparation of schedules, preparation of the milestones, highlighting the constraints, mentioning the target. Obviously, if we are mentioning a plan, a goal should be set, which will be our mission of the project, driving towards the target. And can anyone just tell me what does WBS stand for in planning? Those who are into project stream again can mention what does WBS. Yes, it is very rightly said, work breakdown structure. So work breakdown structure means the bifurcation of activities which are linked with each other, falling as a major activity in the mentioned schedule. For example, if we are constructing a bungalow, then there are there is there are four activities which are mentioned. One is the excavation, that is the digging part. Second is the framing work, which is done in shuttering, steel, concrete. Third lies the interiors and the finishes. And fourth lies the furniture making part and electrification. So if I have to bifurcate into minute details, which is also called as a micro plan or a micro schedule. So I have to mention what all activities are considered in the first one, which is excavation or digging itself. It has got, in terms of civil engineering, I would like to put it as boring, rock blasting, auger boring. mass excavation, drilling. So these are all which come up. Dewatering also comes up into excavation. If I come across any groundwater table, then I have to dewater it. That comes into the excavation part. Second, which is the steel framework. So it can be a structural fabrication erection. It can be RCC, which is reinforced cement concrete. It can be shuttering. Shuttering can be again varying depending on the type of structure, which is Maiwan or a wooden or whatever best suits for the project, whatever best suits for the project. So these are basically a kind of bifurcations which are given in the work breakdown structure, and hence it is named rightly. So these are the few bullets which are highlighted as planning. So there are phases of planning, which is pre-planning, and also during establishing the schedules, and also what does the change process has involved into planning. So if there are any changes happening, it should be right from the planning stage, which should be known to the project manager, to the stakeholders, and accordingly the steps are deviated and mentioned in the plan that we are going to implement the change, which is also known as change implementation. It involves RFIs, RFQs, which are called as RFAs as well, reference to the request for approvals. Planning also involves having meetings with the stakeholders, the project management team, the clients, and also with the consultants. Yes, there is few terminologies like Gantt chart, which is established out of planning. So this gives you a major forecast of which activity is critical, which activity is lagging, what we need to, how much is the time frame which is pending to achieve a milestone, what we need to do in order to achieve a particular milestone. So that is all visible in these kind of planning tools and measures. There is one more register which I have mentioned as risk register, where the potential impact happening on a project. Like for example, if I am having an excavation site, if the soil strata is very loose, then the foundations won't be strong enough. So what should I do get a get the project on the right track to have sturdy foundations? So I should dig till I reach the hard rock. So that is what is called as risk register, where we mention the risks, potential risks involved in any activity and the project plan associated with it. We also mitigate certain kind of delays and risks involved in the same. There is also a register called as delay register, where you mention it in your project directory again. Yes, very rightly mentioned. The abbreviation WBS stands for work breakdown structure. So what does execution mean? Moving to the third phase, which is called as execution or called as implementation. Basically, execution means doing the work. We need to execute what we had planned in the early stage. This means we have to allocate the resource at the right point at the right time and get the things done as required for the project. So I have mentioned few bullets to form a team, to have project introduction, execute project management plan, procurement management, and status, including the meetings and the schedules. So here I have mentioned like getting onto it basically is execution, where we reach the targets or the goals which are set for the project. Moving on to the fourth phase, which is monitoring and controlling. So what does monitoring mean? Basically, monitoring and controlling involves having a control on the project through the project management plan. So the quality or the kind of deliverables which we need to produce, which we need to give, and the tracking part for the schedules are all mentioned in the project management plan. So where we monitor and control the same. So here is a comparison which I have made, observations and quantitative measure. So basically any activity which is quantified is or which is measured is to be monitored in the monitoring stage. In the controlling stage, you see whether that activity is on track or on schedule. Whether following the mentioned methodology, the technical specifications associated with the project process. Again, this comes into monitoring and identifying the constraints, mitigating the delays comes into controlling, where we need to again keep a check on the timelines, on the schedules. Certifying and collating project documents is what we consolidate the monitoring sheet. So there are checklists which are prepared. There are certain check sheets which are given, which are certified by respective engineers, respective managers who are involved during the project execution phase. QA/QC. What does QA/QC stand for? Again, this is known by majorly all the project management professionals who are already working into projects. It is quality assurance and quality control. So it's a vast topic, although it is just a tab which I have mentioned over here. So in my master's, I had a subject called as Total Quality Management, TQM. So during master's itself, we had a subject of TQM where there are theories behind it and behind formulation, and they have proven why it is necessary to have quality measures, how it leads to quality assurance, and how we can gain the topmost quality through the project processes on a product. And the last but most important of all the stages is the closure. If until unless you have a closure set for the project is never ready for handover task, because it has a reversal impact of whatever processes we have followed till now, right from the inception stage. So I have just tried to consolidate the entire concept of closure in this one diagram. First is the outer circle, from outer to inner. If you just observe, is task completion, which is all completion of the tasks which were planned, which were executed, which were monitored and controlled. Documentation and sign off. This is to be again validated through an official sign off. Then is demobilization, which is you need to again demobilize all the resources which you had assembled on the project, and is the handover. This hence leads to handing over of the project. Dependencies on the project is what I have jotted. After the life cycle of the project and its stages are done, we have these dependencies which are normally visible on a project. So first point which I have mentioned is of legal compliances. Yes, there are certain statutory approvals. Yes, there are certain protocols to be followed for which permits, permissions, regulatory boards are involved, and we need to seek their permission before rolling out a project. Then there is climate forecast, which affects the project. Yes, construction industry is majorly dependent on the IMD reports we refer to. If there are any heavy rainfalls, any kind of cyclones, typhoons affecting the project, and we have to think of safety at first place. Labor contingency is basically the regulation norm which is applicable on the manpower and the resources which are engaged while assigning the project. So these contingencies have their own clauses that the manpower should have a certain age bar, then they should have certain level of occupancy trade. For example, I can just correlate this with oil and gas industry or petrochemical industry in the Gulf countries. So they only prefer manpower who have previously worked into oil and rigging industry, where they can deploy them with their particular skill set. They never go with experimentation of deploying a new manpower or a new set for a new project. Conflict resolution board, or DRB, dispute resolution board, which is again a major chapter which is considered in projects. This comes into claims management or settlement issues, litigation issues, land issues, particularly for the highway projects, which we have seen highway and railway projects, where farming lands are intruded due to the project plan. And then again, the consent of the villagers, right from the owners of those lands, which are the farmers, again, the regulatory bodies, and also with the state norms. They have to resolve all the conflicts. And this again has a reversal impact on our projects, which we go. The demographic scenario, of course, if there is any kind of war situation, it has an impact on an ongoing project. So we need to think about this. And these are the parameters which I sense out of experience and out of the project exposure which we have are dependent, pretty much dependent on the project. So here is a project management plan which I have put up, having few parameters and their pros and cons. So cost management basically involves cost optimization. It also has budget escalation. If it escalates the budget, then we have to give a alarming signal to the higher management and the stakeholders saying that this has a cost impact, so we need to take a call. Schedule management, about project tracking, project delays. Yes, we have to track the project right from the first day, from the 0th day, where the activity has to begin. And then count on the delays if it is getting, if there is a terminology in MS projects which is called as slippage calculation, where the days or the percentage of slippage is calculated for every activity. So hence there is risk, stakeholder, procurement, communication management, quality management, again, like I said, in control measures, resource pooling and resource provision. So basically we have to associate and assemble all the resource. If it is not there, and if it is said that we need the resource, then we have to provide where once out the project. For example, if I have to make a provision for the laborers who are residing near the project location, they have a labor colony, and I have to provide them with domestic water, which is written in the contract. So for domestic water, I need to dig a bore over there of 400 feet deep. So this provision of the boring machine, of the boring lines to be set, and the plumbing lines to be given to the labor, to the manpower who are engaged on the project, is a part of the resource management as a project manager. It's my responsibility again. And scope management, rightly defined, which again starts from the initiation phase itself. So looking at the main agenda of PMTQ, so why do we sense that there should be a good PMTQ or a project management technical quotient necessary? Is it essential after knowing to the fundamentals of the project, after knowing to the processes of the project and project management associated terminology, that a person or any working professional should have certain level of project management quotient? Is it necessary? Anyone can please mention their comments in the chat box again. Yes, it helps project manager better understand technical resources and talk to the customer. Correct. Very rightly said. Yes. So in In today's date, it helps in assessing the threats of the project, I would say, the risks which are majorly involved. Then we know how much to use our resources, till what extent. This quotient is lagging. If you have all the resources deployed at the very first stage and you consume all the budget which is there for the project, then how are you going to deliver the subsequent activities which are coming up later? This forecast looking tendency is essential for having a project management quotient. So this is what is the sole reason I identify as a person having an innovative mindset first. You should be creative. You should think of multiple ways through which, multiple products through which you can achieve the task through different iterations, permutation, combination. You should have a collaborative leadership. You should try associating with all the domains who are helpful for the project, which help in gaining good stability, good financial health of the project. You should have a risk mitigation technique. You should know what upcoming risks would be in your project. Hence, there should be a proactive plan again, which is commonly called as a backup plan. Yes, and again, there should be ultimately for the driving force of the project or the project management stream as an empathetic approach towards the customer. There, the customer should be ultimately satisfied with what he had expected right from the inception stage till what he received at the end of the project. So the deliverables which we give throughout the process is what we actually have to harness as project managers, general managers, senior managers, whoever form the driving force of the project. Someone has mentioned, yes, customer feels more confident on project implementation, as usually PM is communication as POC for them, right? So with in today's date, I would say that these are the three aspects which are majorly a cyclic force, which are applicable to establish a project management quotient. So one is the explore, that you should be creative. Second is the most vital thing, you should be adaptive, because of which now project management has brought the concept of agile into it. Agility is basically being more flexible, more movable, not being rigid in terms of the methodology, in terms of the process, in terms of the approach, in terms of what we have to deliver, in what ways. And last but not the least is the application. Yes, it should apply something at the end. It is not that just we explode and we led it to nothing, right? So are there any benefits of PMTQ? Do you suggest? Yes, these are the points which I have, excuse me. Yeah, these are the points which I have highlighted. So majorly, if you see, the projects are effectively resolved. Uh, it is having an overall positive impact by resolving the problems. It is a good practice as a working professional to have the project management fundamentals being implemented, having a good quotient of project management. It always gives a fresh perspective to the older problems which were encountered right from the inception stage. There are few project managers who still believe in the traditional practices, kind of a conventional approach which they had. But nowadays it is all improvising. It is all uh, updating rather. There are parallel set of activities I could correlate it to the construction projects which I have been through. There is a few terminology which is called as waterfall and agile, compared with agile. So waterfall is the particular sequence after the end of an activity, the next activity would start. So this is irreversible. But in Agile, we find out ways and means to achieve all the five activities together and in the within the given time frame. So this is what is the higher the quotient, the higher the efficiency of the project, and hence there are brighter chances of the project to be successful. Yes, it prioritizes the business resources and also helps in its efficient use. Of course, it gives you a good forecast of the scope, schedule, and the budget. Yes, I have again highlighted few bullets. What are the benefits? So it helps you keeping on track on the schedule. It helps you controlling the cost. It helps you mitigating the risks. It helps in establishing good communications. It helps in having higher customer satisfaction, ultimately uh, leading to the goals which were set by the stakeholders for the stakeholders. It gives a good boost ultimately for the project. So yes, this basically is governed by three principles. I would suggest having a higher quotient or a driving force of the project management technique. I would say first, a person or a professional should be curious. He should be having, again, like I said, he should be creative. He should find thousands of ways, hundreds of ways, again, to establish the task to reach its goal. There are different iterations to be carried out to explore new products, to resources, methodologies, and to win over the given situation in a righteous way. The leader should be motivated. He should not only be motivated by self, he should motivate the team. He should drive the team. He should always have a positive spirit around whenever he is executing his responsibilities. He should take care that the project and the team members both are not suffering or not having any kind of impact, negative impact on each other. And last but not the least, it should be harnessing different talents. So this I can correlate with an example saying if a person is expertise has an expertise of developing a 3D model, and the another one knows the hardware knowledge, the another one has a very sound knowledge of being a software architect. Yes, these are the vital essentials, vital ingredients, I would say, or the vital team members for a project to harness all together on a common platform, keeping them binded, and this would lead to the success of my project goal. So the PMTQ basically consists of these bullets which I have mentioned. Above all is the first one is leadership, having a good leadership quality. So as a leader, I would say things should be looked after with their imperfections first and then making it perfect. That is what is a leader's vision. You have to take timely decisions. You have to stand there out for your team first, and then you have to see that the project is delivered in the right way. Time management is a vital, crucial aspect, I would say. As an efficient manager, you should be organized. Yes, you should be following schedules. You should be delegating responsibility to the team, and hence comes up communication, risk, research, critical thinking. What does attention to detail mean? There are for certain terminologies in projects which come up, which a leader can't even gauge or judge, having its impact later. For example, if electrification work is done, then there are three-phase, two-phase, single-phase wiring connections. So this can be only assessed by an electrical engineer who is involved on the project. So these details, minute details, its source, its cable route, then the display points, and the coming up station points. So these minute details are should be taken care of by a team member. So a leader should have this vision, or the team member should have this vision knowing it with the team, knowing it with the leader to deliver all the essentials which are for the project. Yes, I would like to mention a case study for out of my past experience on a live project which I had executed. So the case study was I was working for a Belgium-based company known as Gantrex Crane India Rail Private Limited. So basically, what this company used to do is to establish crane rails on the jetty on the ports. In the next slide, you can see the image. So this is a shipping container terminal where the crane rails were laid on the jetty and the cranes using at Tuticorin, which is known as Tuticorin as well at Tamil Nadu on Dakshin Bharat Gateway Terminal. And Ballor Logistics, which is a European company having its shipments being vesseled all around the globe, was our client. AECOM was the consultant. I was working as an assistant manager to drive the project. And I was put into the lead position for the first time to handle a project task. So the challenge which was given was they wanted the code not to be uh, kept under construction for a longer time, and they wanted to release this uh, for the shipping vessels to come up, and they had given us a time frame to establish the crane rails line. It was our job, which was of 350 meters length, having two tracks uh, within 3 calendar weeks, as given by the clients. It was very challenging, having a lot of constraints which came in my way, and it ultimately took 12 calendar weeks. The client had given us an open challenge by paying us 70% of the project cost in advance. So ultimately, through lot of iterations and lot of mitigations, I came up with the errors which were established due to the design and the data which was reverted at early stage, having a survey error in the report, and there was pending provision of the resources. So this is what I had to work out, and because of which we had to bear, our company had to bear the cost. But yes, the project was a success. We delivered it, and the site condition was also again understood by our clients. At times, as I mentioned in planning stage itself, the yes. So at times, as I mentioned in the planning stage itself, the clients are a bit unrealistic at start. So our plans should be realistic. And yes, we have to convince the clients, our stakeholders, our customers, and deliver the project. So this is it where I would like to conclude for today's webinar session, and we can proceed with before proceeding with the question and answer session, I would like you to uh, start with the polls which are launched. So there is a code which is launched in your chat box, and please give your polls. I hope the session was pretty clear with the thought process, the fundamentals, the concepts, and the way we should drive as working professionals. Hope it was insightful for everyone. So that's it. Thank you once again for attending and having a foresight of project management as a working professional. Good evening to all. Thank you.